Hey there. It's not a long 2 months, and I'm back. I'm very much a spontaneous video maker when it comes to my vlogs, that there's no doubt on. And oftentimes it goes so far that I don't even check out my take before posting it. I just record. If I've got this feeling in me that the God that spoke through me spoke beautifully, and I just post a video on YouTube. Might be seen as a pretentious comment by a few or some. The God that spoke through me. You know, there's this interesting notion with that, where gods would control people like chess pieces, or almost as if they are simply animated. And then there would be gods in the sky. I don't really believe. I mean, if you think about it, and ultimately it would all culminate into one. But there would be gods in the sky and a leader, and they would control the people on planets in order to get, well, I was going to say an ideal result, but that might be kind of a warped view. That might not be exactly it. In fact, I kind of find that perplexing and troubling. Plus, what is so ideal about this planet anyways? I mean, this planet is, in so many places, it is carnage. It is ravaged. There is a third world. And unless the whole point is that we are all consumers, even the almighty and powerful beings, and therefore we must respect the law of a lack of compassion, not necessarily mockery, but more so judgment. You know, it's interesting even think that there is a God watching over us. When you think the point would be that beyond the bedtime stories and beyond the readings, you think the point would be that he'd lend a hand. And sure, I mean, I live in Canada. I got a great outcome. Other people maybe didn't get such a great outcome. Where is their God? As the man saw his friends perish and die over starvation, and then starved to death himself, one of his last thoughts was, there is no God. And then he passed, and then no one noticed, because the world can actually be an extremely cruel place. But see, there's this telling in my visions, my hallucinations, that everyone is controlled in order to form a picture, in order to form a perfect picture. And I just find it so funny in a way. Because what's the point of just painting a pretty good picture? If I had a power in my mind to change the world, why would I be bowing down to cynicism? Why would I be bowing down to consumerism and its lack of acceptance? Why would I be bowing down to bureaucracy? Why would I not simply exert beauty for the people? If I truly had a miraculous grasp, and I think the grand majority would feel the same way, we'd use it for good. We'd use it to better the world. Because the world needs it. It's clear. I'm not the most empathetic guy out there. But I do have a head on my shoulders, and I can tell you that this is for a fact. So to the hallucinations that have been participating with me, that tell me various things, that tell me of their motives and of their reasonings, but most of all are just there to worsen me, let's be clear. But to them I ask, what is the real point in compromise unless you were never truly a God to begin with? So there is a point in time where I am born. And what's interesting about that is that I am 26. It's actually my birthday today. I turned 26. Woo! And a year older, right? Let's celebrate, even though there's kind of an irony in that. Because the celebration of growing older, while it is actually quite a beautiful thing, eventually kind of gets into a depressing thing. You notice, I noticed with my mom, whose birthday was 4 days earlier, that it kind of seemed a bit of a depressing thing for her. I told her, do not worry, Mom, as when it is your birthday, I've not aged by a year, simply a day. Because every day is a day older, every day is a day further into the end of it all. And, I'm sorry to change the subject. I just feel the need to mention that I think that while I have been a beautiful guy, a part of my mentality does not agree with me at all, it's clear. For 4 years before the whole hoopla started with me, I've spoken of this a few times, I'll just shorten it into this. 22 years of age, near the end of that time period before I turned 23, things started really getting hectic for me. I started really dealing with a demonic process. A process that was meant to kill me. Now, a few years before that, at 17, so 5 years, I started dealing with schizophrenia. It was really bad for me at first, but eventually grew into something more considerate. I believe in the weirdest of ways, I formed a bond with my mind through the schizophrenia, through the psychosis. Because while it wouldn't speak to me in words that were positive, it would share thoughts, it would share an ideology that was pertinent to positivity, that was certainly interesting, and then I would talk to it, and I'd have like this sort of conversation where it would always respond with its thinking, and it would always breathe from inside of me. It is through those years that I learned of, honestly, in so many ways, even though I was a bullying victim, it's through those years, 17 to 19, and even onward, that I learned of the troubles of life, that I learned of how life can actually be a massively difficult thing, but I still did not have any real clue to my perspective, I did not have a real clue compared to living in a third world and not being able to eat and not being able to afford, entertainment. That was truly the savior, is the fact that I was in a comfortable situation. That's what saved me in the end. Because otherwise I would have been stuck with nothing but me and my own mind. And despite my mind's friendliness, it doesn't mean that. Far from. I mean, there were hurdles, there were waves, there were practically earthquakes, Not on the solid ground, but mentally there were earthquakes. Moments where I just had to hold on and hope for the best because I felt so suicidal. It was almost as if I was going to kill myself. And now I'm here, 22 and onward. The year of my life, 22 years old, is such a grand signification for me of an alternate state of mind and of being intruded upon and haunted by demonic figures that noticed me somehow and wanted me to die. Perhaps the most frightening thing of all was that I always had this urge to let go. I wanted to let go of everything that was personally created and brought forward by my heart, by my soul. I deleted a previous YouTube channel I had. Never got it back, of course. But there was a lingering hope in my mind after 2 days of dealing with such paranoid thoughts regarding the channel. And then them just fading away and me just realizing in the moment that they were inserted all along. They were inserted thoughts by some kind of force in the sky that simply meant evil, that simply wanted to hurt. And after, I was never the best at keeping my past creativity in its safe box, in its place. I would always get rid of it. But that was egregious. By my standard, regardless, I would have considered it to be extremely egregious, horrible, a nightmare, to do that. Because it was exactly like this. And the speaking your mind is so important. Now, while we all love to believe in hope, and for a lot of people that translates into believing in a God, or believing in gods, I think that one thing that isn't considered as much, because it is simply grim and depressing, but that rappers often mention it in their songs, is demons, devils. Hell. Because who wants to really see it in that way, life? But I can tell you that I can assure you that they've been here, just not through the same perspectives, not through the same view that we have had. But mentally, it's the exact same. It's the exact same perspective. And that they're the reason that we're struggling as a species. Because it feels like for every person that lives a good life, 3 don't. It would be 2 to 3. But probably more like 3. And the truth is maybe a God in that instance is the only thing that could truly save us. So I've been doing some thinking about that here and there. Just, mild thoughts. Because honestly, I cannot rethink in a straightforward way. I wonder what thinking really means, Because, to contemplate and to know you are contemplating in the moment. Is that to think words? Is that to perceive the words? Or is that simply to have the feeling of contemplation? Because if it is simply to have the feeling of contemplation, then I always think about it, saving the world. In fact, it's one of the sole things I think about. Because the process was very spiritual and religious. It was a process that wasn't wonderful. But yes, in my mind, it was needed. It was a needed process. I don't like to admit it lately because I feel it is so prolonged. But it was a needed process. It's been over 3 years at this point that I've just been chasing the same tail. And it just feels like when I will go to grab it, its owner, which is the catharsis and the peace and the hope and the joy that the world needs, will simply fade and not exist anymore, and I'll have chased the tail for years for nothing. That there is a hope in me. There is a very big hope in me. So to conclude, the world evidently has the potential to be beyond beautiful. In order for it to truly be that way, maybe we need to let go of evils incarnate and to accept our holy and purified selves. But that's a step, and then quite a few more. So we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. We'll see what the future pertains to. We'll see if the wars become more abundant. We'll see if we are truly saved. Peace.